The Demonic Virtue by Niall R. Piper II. Part 1, Chapter 4. Addifer awoke to the sound of heavy thunder. His sleep was followed by the quick embrace of sudden alertness. His feet pushed into the sand and his hands sunk into the indentions of the rock wall. His wings flexed between his back and the stone. Struggling to find space, his eyes shot skyward to watch the clouds fill with electricity. It was a marvelous illumination of intensity and power.
Addifer,
a voice rung out. He relaxed his brace, for he knew who hailed him.
what has brought you here?
The voice shook the wall behind him. The sand mixed below his feet from the intensity of the vibrations. He would not be intimidated. He stood in pride and struck forth his chest. He opened his wings to stretch them. While steadying his stance in the grains of sand, he tilted his head toward the sky. "Let me leave," he demanded. He felt inferior, but relentless.
My son, you know not what you say.
The voice thundered. "Then let me find out on my own," he yelled confidently as he pounded his chest. Once more, he stood his ground, and without hesitation, sneered at the clouds above. The storm waged on. In its magnificent bolts of thunder and lightning, the ground shook. Lightning once again lit up the sky as a single stenciled bolt of lightning struck the wall. The heat from the strike melted the sand near his feet and stole the promise in Addifer's stance. From the bolt's impact came a rumbling, and a large ferocious crack shot down through the stone. When the fracture met the sand, the grains, and the pebbles exploded into all directions. Addifer raised his arms to shield his eyes from the bits of desert granules.
So be it. Leave this kingdom,
demanded the voice. The ground continued to shake as the wall split in two. Then, like two massive ships parting from one another, the wall began to separate, leaving tumbling sand at its foot. A narrow passageway opened from between the rock. Addifer was startled that the moment of clarity was before him. The gap was filled with complete darkness. The darkness scared him. He dared not show weakness in this moment. Addifer proceeded into the passage with his chin held sternly forward and his eyes fixed on the darkness. Solid step after solid step, the light began to fade. He did not look back at the blackness as it engulfed him. In the passageway between the stone, there was no light penetrating inward, no sand spilling forth. Nothing existed but Addifer. Behind him, in the storm, the rock wall closed shut. Not even a fracture in the wall remained. This has been Part 1, Chapter 4 of The Demonic Virtue. Stay tuned next week for Part 1, Chapter 5 of The Demonic Virtue by Niall R. Piper II.